In the basement of the North Dakota State Museum, tucked away out of sight, lays a macabre artifact of the Little Bighorn Battle of 1876. The object is part of the Burdick collection of Teton Lakota Sioux ethnological materials gathered in the 1920s and the 1930s. This particular item stands out from the others as it reflects the brutality of the Indian Wars. The artifact is a strip of skin, dark and looking like leather, about 16 inches long by 2 inches wide. The strip of skin was taken from the body of the Black Scout and interpreter Isaiah Dorman just after the battle. The discovery of the various bodies was particularly gruesome, as many of them had been terribly mutilated. William C. Slapper, a trooper at the battle, said he saw many atrocities. He said that Corporal Henry Scullin had his leg hacked off near his groin. Another soldier had both arms severed at the shoulders. Henry Jim Turley had his own large hunting knife driven into his eye up to the hilt. Isaiah Dorman had numerous arrows shot into his body and head and was badly cut and slashed, and had unmentionable atrocities committed. Dorman had been born free from slavery. His mother had been granted her freedom years before. As a young man, he went to work building Fort Ridgely in Minnesota during the year 1853. He then lived with the Lakota tribe while he traded and trapped. He married a Dakota girl named Celeste Pierre. Some say her name was Visible. During the Civil War, he went to work as the personal attendant for General Alfred Sully at Fort Kearny, Nebraska, and then went into battle with him in Virginia. In 1864, Sully went to Dakota Territory to lead the Northwest Indian Expedition, and Dorman continued to work as his attendant. Leaving this, he began work as a mail carrier with a 360-mile round trip between Forts Rice and Wadsworth. Following that, he was employed by the U.S. Army at Fort Rice as an official interpreter. He then served as guide and interpreter for a party of engineers making the Northern Pacific Railroad survey in 1871. After his return to Dakota Territory, Dorman and his wife opened a wood chopping business on the Missouri River, serving the boats that went by. He was hired by the 7th Cavalry to interpret. On the 25th of June, 1876, he found himself with Reno's men as they attacked the huge Sioux and Cheyenne village on the Little Bighorn River. Being an interpreter, he was not required to fight, but no doubt did, as the troops were under heavy return fire, and the warriors were now riding amongst them, swinging their war clubs. The soldiers had to retreat to the timber and fight for their lives. As Reno and his men retreated, Dorman, along with other civilians, Charlie Reynolds, George Herendeen, and Fred Gerard, were left behind when their horses were shot from beneath them. Private Roman Rutten recalled that Dorman was standing and firing into the Indians. As I went by him, he shouted, "Goodbye, Rutten." A soldier who helped bury the dead saw Reynolds and Dorman lying together as if they would not leave each other. Apart from being cut up and slashed, Dorman's body had been pounded with pemmican hammers by the Sioux women afterwards. A coffee mug that he always carried on him was found sitting next to him, filled with his blood. Dorman's wife's niece, Iron Antelope, took the strip of skin off the body so the family could later perform a death ceremony for him. Eventually, the strip was given to Iron Antelope's son, Afraid of Lightning, who in 1932 sold this and other items to Usher L. Burdick, the famous collector. Burdick had been a lawyer, a North Dakota lieutenant governor, and United States representative. Growing up near the Fort Totten Sioux Indian Reservation, he learned to speak the tribe's dialect fluently, as well as other Native American languages. The objects he collected over his lifetime now form a valuable resource for our knowledge of the past.